There comes a time in every aspiring photographer's life when they finally need a real camera, whether it be from needing more than just a borrowed camera, to my case in which my first camera finally kicked the bucket. Upon this occurrence, said amateurs may find themselves trudging through the depths of camera stores, an infinite expanse of vaguely similar cameras, all boasting mildly different specifications, all of which seemingly put older equipment to shame. For me, that was back when I was a teenager. I wanted an upgrade from my previous Canon SX50 HS, a hybrid camera with 4K, slow motion, and a long lens, all common features of bridge cameras. Immediately upon opening the box and extracting the alleged camera, I began to realize the true depths of my mistake. Now with deep, sudden, and haunting regret beginning to set in, one thought crystallized with astonishing clarity. I had just wasted $400. So what was so bad to make even a teenager with very little camera experience immediately disappointed with it? For a start, everything. Straight out of the box, the FZ80 feels flimsy, like it lacks any sort of camera in there. It feels like a children's toy even for bridge camera standards. And it proceeds to go downhill from there. As seems to be the case with all bridge cameras, this one seems fantastic on paper, starting with 4K recording from 2017, which people at the time still associated with quality. However, this suffers from the same issue that plagues any marketing buzzword. It's not entirely accurate. 1080p itself can look fantastic if the processing and hardware are top-notch. It's blatantly apparent that's not what's happening here. The original iPhone SE, for example, probably had better processing and specs. Which is to say, the footage looks like junk. Swapping between 1080p and 4K recording has very little visual distinction, except for this crop applied to the footage. Overweighing any possible image quality boost is the awful compression present at all recording modes, which also causes awful smudging as the ISO is increased. Compounding this issue is the minuscule sensor, which is a trade-off made to allow for the
20 to 1200 35mm equivalent zoom range, the focus of marketing, and an unfortunate commonality amongst its bridge camera peers.
Video is only half of the hybrid camera, and this one manages to disappoint even more. For a start, image quality-wise, it looks worse than my previous Canon SX50, a camera that was a quarter of the price and a third the resolution. The FZ80's 18-megapixel resolution comes off softer than the Canon's 12. Even more worryingly is the noise level is already bad at ISO 100, concerning for a camera with a base ISO of 80. Thankfully, you can bring the shutter down to compensate thanks to the fairly impressive image stabilization jammed into it. You can shoot it about as slow as you want, but that only ends up being around 4 seconds per exposure without menu diving for night mode. Getting home with photos always left me severely unimpressed. The only thing that's really got left to save it are some gimmicks, and boy are they some strange gimmicks. First of all, it has 4K photo feature, which they were so proud of that they added 3 whole modes for it. The first 2 are completely useless. They're basically just video. The sort of useful one is the 4K pre-burst mode, which basically just records continuously until the shutter is pressed, which actually writes the clip to the card. It's occasionally useful for recording a soccer game or something, if not for the atrocious rolling shutter that renders any possible image warped to oblivion. But the FZ80 has one more trick, a gimmick which was so successful that Google killed it. In seriousness though, it's a post-focus mode, which is supposed to allow you to take a photo and select a focal point later, except the way it does it is by actually taking a video while it moves the focal point around, which means that if you're using this on a moving subject, your photo will change depending on where you place the focal point, leaving it only useful for focusing on stationary subjects, which means it's basically just a skill issue. The mention of Panasonic's UI does bring up very few positive things to say. While the layout of buttons and switches physically leaves much to be desired, Panasonic's UI team did their damnedest best to commonality across every camera they make. Technically, it has manual focus for people who think that focusing via delayed acceleration on a poorly tracked touchscreen is fun. Trying to bring up manual focus in the first place is already an exercise in confusion, followed by unyielding focus racking as you try and nail down focus with about a half a second delay. Realistically, only the button manual focus selection is even usable, though you'll find yourself opening random menus trying to decipher which of the D-pad directions even focuses. At its core, the FZ80 is a terrible, unremarkable, and downright uninteresting bridge camera with presumed laziness in implementation, leaving it with an unexpectedly okay software experience copied straight from their higher-end gear. Barely managing to polish unforgivable hazardous waste into something that could almost be described as usable. That polishing left a mark on me, and when I was finally fed up with this mess, I found myself buying Panasonic's G85, a camera that was everything this could have been. That camera, while technically worse by the numbers, was an infinite increase in every conceivable way, from usability to image quality to ergonomics, finalizing my own journey of photography knowledge. The acceptance that in all cases, buying something used of a higher market tier is the right move, that new cameras are a scam, and especially bridge cameras are the leaders of the scam photography world. Hell, I'm confident enough to say that if I ever find myself enjoying a bridge camera, I'll eat my hat.